Hi, this is Wendy Gunn from yourhomeforgod.com, talking to you today about parenting, Christian parenting. I have a lot to talk to you about, and I'm preparing a course on child training and parenting, Christian parenting, and this came originally from a talk that I gave at our church, and I'm going to just summarize some of the points at the beginning, and I will be going into them in much more depth in an ebook, in a course, and I hope that you will join me for that and watch for it to come. First of all, the two most important character qualities to train into your children are attentiveness and obedience. I've also talked to you about the three-legged stool of parenting, and the three legs are prayer, example, and your training. Your prayer, your training, your example. If you put the first letters together to remember it, it spells PET. P-E-T, prayer, example, training, or teaching. If any one of those legs are shorter, much shorter than the other, that stool will not only be wobbly, but will eventually fall over. So you need to be putting in all three of those, and I've done a video on that as well. I'm looking at some notes here if you see me looking down, but we have to be an example of what we want them to be, and we have to be looking ahead at the adult that we want them to become as well. We also need to look at their gifts and realize that they are probably a lot like maybe their grandma or grandpa was at that age. Maybe a 2-year-old who's driving you crazy is exactly like their grandma or grandpa who's so efficient and productive was like when they were 2. Then I just want to encourage you to fast and pray for your husband, your family, your children, your church, your marriage. I don't know, the Bible says and Jesus said when you fast, but I think that has become a very lost art and skill and thing that we do, but I want to talk about that as well as part of your parenting. So the top 10 things to focus on is what is going to be what will be the crux, the core of this course. It is what I, as an older mom, a Titus II mom who's raised her own children, and we homeschooled start to finish, and we raised our children. And this is what I have learned through God's grace and mercy and teaching me through the years, and what I would really dearly like to share with you. So I'm just going to say the top 5, and then I will, like I said, go into much more depth in this in the book and the course. So number 1 of the top 10 things to focus on is quiet time. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I recommend reading through the Bible every year, but reading any part of the Bible is going to help you. It does not return void. And I recommend memorizing it with your children. Sit at the Lord's feet and pour out your heart to Him. I've been doing a series on prayer. If you've been reading the blog, there's a series on prayer. Do you pray? And the impact of prayer cannot be overstated. So God must be first place, most important in your life, and at the center of everything that you're teaching your children. Your home, your parenting must be centered on Him and loving Him. and He must be first and foremost in your lives. So number 2, consistency. So what are the things that your children will say? Mom always said this. Mom always did that. When you get to the end of your life, what do you want to be said about you? I don't know if you've had to go to funerals much, but I've recently had to go to funerals, but blessedly of believers. And you hear what was the most important thing in their lives. And it is a real blessing to go to a believer, a strong believer's funeral. But it has started me thinking about, what do I want to be said about me at the end of my life? Think about that. What do you want to be said? As a young mom, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you can think ahead. You can plan, you can prepare, and you can become the person that you want people to say, that's what she was like. And that is what was most important in her life. Your children will hear your voice in their minds. They will hear what you say years later. I still hear my mom's voice saying the things that she said. I'm repeating them now. What do you want your children to hear you saying? It occurred to me many years ago that I could choose what I was going to repeat over and over to my children, that they were going to hear going through their minds over and over. It occurred to me that I wanted it to be extremely biblical and important. I don't know if I succeeded in that, but I pray that my children, what they hear going through their minds as what Mom said, is biblical truth. So then, you can repeat those things over and over and strive for increasing consistency in Christ-likeness. Then number 3, strive for increasing order in your life and in your home. So this is a lifelong challenge, and it is for every one of us. It's not where you are, it's the direction you're heading. And my motto is to make progress and not perfection. Aim for progress, not perfection. Number 4, be committed to sitting down at the table with your family for at least one meal a day. This is surprisingly just a real struggle for a lot of families, and it is becoming more and more rare. I really encourage you to do this, and without distractions. In our day, that means put the phones away, put the cell phones somewhere else. Don't be reading, just be there. Be where you are, be all there. Then number 5, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about today. We are called stay-at-home moms. Stay at home. This is perhaps the hardest thing of all for us to do. It is just so difficult. And when I considered why I struggle, we all struggle to stay home, why is this such a hard thing? I think it's because of Deuteronomy 6 that talks about where your children are going to be learning and trained in biblical ways. And 3 out of the 4 places that it talks about are at home. I think that that is where their spiritual training is going to take place most of the time under their parents, and where they'll get saved with mom leading them to Christ often. So it's a very important thing that we are at home. And then I want to just say that when my children were younger, we decided that 2 nights a week was our max to be away from home in the evenings. That is just a struggle, and that might be something different you'll decide, but for us, 2 nights max for us of evening activities was just planned activities was all that we could handle well. So I started out homeschooling thinking that extracurricular activities were really important, and I wanted them to be involved in opportunities and extracurricular activities, and of course we're always asked about socialization as homeschoolers. And so we were too involved. We were over involved. But I soon learned that that was the road to disorder, strife at home, bad attitudes, and worldliness, and developing wrong appetites in my children, and also in me. And being home most days allowed us to see and work on the character problems that cropped up both in our children and in us. You have to be home. You have to be home. You have to be able to deal with those things, and they will show up. That's one of the benefits of homeschooling, is that you can't hide from them, but that's also one of the benefits that you can't hide from them. One of the bad things, one of the good things. And you need to be home to deal with them. And the other thing that being home allowed was to have a routine. And children thrive on routines. They just, I know you know that, they thrive. And my kids would always ask us the night before, ask me as I was putting them to bed, what are we doing tomorrow? And they thrive on knowing what's going to happen and having a nice routine to their lives. It made them more happy and contented little people. It strengthened our family relationships, and it turned their hearts to their father, to Daddy, interestingly enough. It allowed us to train them in hard work. When we had a schedule, when we had chores and things for them to do, when we were at home and we were taking care of the things that needed to be done, and they were a part of that, it helped us to train them in skills that they needed. And we were able to be companions to the wise people, wise companions, real people, and also companions of the wise people that we read about in books, in really good books. We had time to read living books and to spend time together. It's just a wonderful thing to be at home, and it's unfortunately too seldom that a lot of us are there. Proverbs describes also the wanton woman, and it says that her feet are never at home. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to have anything in common with her. So let's stay at home as much as we can. So I just wanted to share these things. This is only half of the list and only just a surface covering of the first 5 of the 10 things that I want to share with you as being most important things in raising godly children. I will be talking a lot more about this. I just hope that you will join me and watch for the Christian parenting course that I am preparing. Would you let me know in comments and or shoot me an email if you have specific things that you would like to see covered in this, or if you have questions? I'm praying for you. Would you also subscribe at yourhomeforgod.com so you don't miss any of the instruction and encouragement that I hope you find there. This is Wendy Gunn at yourhomeforgod.com.